Sleeper classes. Now that the top 247 is updated. And by the way, signing day is still like 6 days away. So, we'll have more of this next week. Florida State is a sleeper class. Florida State right now is one of those teams that you cannot look at the recruiting ranking of without also looking at how it combines with the portal ranking. And when you look at the way that those two are kind of combining into one steady flow of talent into Tallahassee, man, they're upgrading. Hakeem Williams is, of course, sort of the crown jewel of that class. That is a wide receiver I heard Andrew Ivins earlier today describe as one of the biggest boom or bust candidates out of all the five-star rated players. He is a monster wide receiver, and yet when you look at his frame, 6'3", about 200, then you go watch him pull away from guys on film, you realize he's one of those where you're not sacrificing a ton of speed to get that size. He wouldn't have 5 stars next to his name if you had to do that. So when you pair what Florida State's doing with the portal, then you understand it's not even so much, I don't know. I think I'd call it a sleeper class because nationally, just the recruiting class is ranked 20th. And so a lot of the top 5 and top 10 classes are going to get a lot of run. I think what Florida State's doing is really good right now. I also think Notre Dame has a sleeper class, even though they're in the top 10. So at last check, and I got to make sure of this because a lot of this changes on a day like today, Notre Dame has the number 9 overall class right now in the 24/7 Sports Composite. So you would think, how is that a sleeper class? For 2 reasons. Number one, they don't have a single 5-star player. People tend to look over you when you don't have a 5-star player. The second is they were previously rated top 5, and so they've dropped a little bit because Keon Keeley decommitted. He goes to Alabama. And so I think people are overlooking that class. I don't think you should. I think it's a really, really good class. And I also think they took 5 wide receivers and 5 offensive linemen. So it's not very hard to figure out the areas that Marcus Freeman and his staff identified as areas of immediate need to upgrade. Kenny Minchie's the quarterback that they got in this cycle. I think he flipped from Pitt, right? Flipped from Pitt. Okay. They just brought Hartman in via the transfer portal from Wake Forest. So they have the 1-year stopgap that they need, theoretically. Kenny Minchie is the guy then in the 2024 season that you would look at and you would think by that point will be in position. This is from Elite 11. There's Yogi Roth in the background. Welcome to the show, Yogi. Appeared on his show the other day. I appreciate him having me on. So Kenny Minchie is a guy I know amidst all of those 20 other 4-star players can get lost in the shuffle. He threw the ball to like another county in that last throw, by the way. South Carolina has a sleeper class. South Carolina's got a really good class. I don't think many people are talking about him right now, but we will because we're talking about sleeper classes for just a second. South Carolina's currently got the 16th rated class in the 24/7 Sports team rankings, and you're seeing the second full cycle now for Shane Beamer and company. Now, if you're a casual fan, not to be confused with a casual, but a casual fan who doesn't follow recruiting, let me help you out here for just a second. You may look at this and you may say, oh man, that doesn't compare to the Georgias of the world. That's true. No one else does. Next to Bama this cycle, no one else does. You don't compare South Carolina to Georgia. What you should be doing is comparing South Carolina to South Carolina. We have taken the liberty to do that for you. 2021, they finished 80th. That's a real number. 2022, they finished 24th. Now they're 16th. I think we call that an upward trajectory. That's what we call that. And also, they're getting bigger and more athletic on the defensive and offensive lines, which I know gets tired, and everyone says, well, we got to get bigger, faster, and stronger on the line of scrimmage. There's a reason why everyone says that, ladies and gentlemen, and it's because you have to be that along the lines of scrimmage. It doesn't really matter if you got some impressive pieces out wide, if you got a running back in the backfield that did a lot in high school. If you can't open holes and you can't give your quarterback time to deliver it, it just looks ugly. And so South Carolina also is a favorite. We're talking now like it's a final product. Nichols Harbor is another guy that if you pay attention on signing day coming up, you may very well see a Gamecock hat be thrown on there. I am not privy to how the celebration and the announcement is going to go, but Nichols Harbor. Just keep an eye on that name for South Carolina. Texas A&M, my. During the early signing day, the biggest questions that people wanted me to ask Steve Wiltfong is what is wrong with Texas A&M recruiting? And Uncle Steve said, nothing is wrong. They've been a little more selective this cycle, but nothing is wrong. Like that, nobody, including them, was ever going to duplicate the class they put together last year. And quite frankly, this is where it's time to talk like an adult for just a second. So children, if you're sensitive, clear the room. They didn't need to recruit like they did last cycle because they brought in a lot of bad pieces last cycle. Those pieces are no longer there. So I know it was impressive. It felt really good. It was the highest of sugar highs. But what does it matter? If they come in and they contribute to a dysfunctional locker room, they don't transition to your way of doing things, the net result is sometimes a five-star can be detrimental to your program. Well, Texas A&M sitting here with the number 13 class in the country right now. No one's talking about them. They're going to be viewed as an underachiever. This will be viewed as a failure this cycle, and yet the number 13 class in the country includes David Hicks, the number 1 defensive lineman in America, 6'4", 290 out of Katy High School, like the 47 millionth player to go D1 out of Katy. They also flipped Reuben Owens, number 1 running back in the country, a 5-star running back nonetheless, from Louisville. Texas A&M is going to be fine, at least when it comes to the talent. Now, it's one thing for me to go to the grocery store and say, don't worry, I got you the ingredients. And then I just pour them out on the table. You've still got to make the meal. But if they don't make the meal in College Station this fall and in coming years, it will not be because the ingredients were not in the cupboard. It will be because they spilled them all over the place. And no one likes spilled ingredients.
Guys, thanks for watching Late Kick. Make sure to leave a comment. I love interacting with you. But most of all, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. That's how we keep all of this free.